Welcome to Father-Son Flight Sim. Today I'm flying solo. I'll be doing an FSEconomy flight today. Very short one from Orange County to Palomar in the Cessna 172. So I've rented a Cessna 172 at Orange County. It's got 31 gallons of fuel in it. I've rented it dry. And we're going to be carrying 3 passengers. It looks like two of the passengers started out at Santa Barbara, didn't quite make it to their final destination, so they need a passage the rest of the way. So I've selected the 3 of them because I can carry up to 3 passengers. Doing a real quick fuel and weight calculation. The max fuel I can carry with 3 passengers will be 45.9 gallons, which we're under that. That's good. We have 31 gallons on board, which means we can still take 3 passengers. And the distance, if I follow this flight plan, now I realize that there is a restricted airspace here. I'm planning to go with, do this on VATSIM, so hopefully there'll be someone on. If not, I'll be using Unicom frequencies, and I'll just sort of steer around it using the GPS. Getting back on track to the Oceanside VOR and then straight into Palomar. So this is our flight plan today, and we'll leave the Class C airspace in Orange County. Balbo will plan a flight at 3,500 feet along the coast, which should be fine, and if we have to deal around that, we will. I don't know if we're going to run into an overcast layer. But we do have some people on Unicom, and I'll just if I do end up there, I'm pretty sure that I can find my way. At McClellan, we'll either have a choice of going the ILS on runway 24, or the back course doesn't have an approach that I can find. But if we can establish a visual, then I could just go straight in base to final. It's left traffic for runway 6, or I can go right traffic to 4 if I have a visual on the runway, which is what I'm kind of hoping for because I don't want to go too far inland. So let's board our passengers and get the FSEconomy going. Let's get back into X-Plane and unpause. I've already started up the plane and done a run-up, so we're good to go. And let's go ahead and start open FSEconomy. Let's log in. And let's start a flight. And we're good to go. You can see that you saw the plane sort of jump as it loaded up our passengers. 31 gallons is approximately half tanks. It adjusted our fuel load to match. And it adjusted our weight and balance center of gravity based on having 3 passengers of an average weight. And now we're ready to go. The FSEconomy has registered that we've started the flight. And we have some traffic here at Orange County, but no controller. So we will turn off the Who's Online because there's nobody here except us pilots. So I don't usually announce my taxi, but I'm going to be taxiing to runway 2 left via Alpha and Kilo. I might go cut across into Charlie to stay out of the ramp. Let's go ahead and get ATIS.
100 Zulu weather.
2998.
Visibility more
oh wait, that's McClellan. Let's
conditions indefinite view.
Let's get the ATIS.
Orange County.
There we go.
John Wayne. Skyline. Information India. 100 Zulu weather. Wind 200 at 6. Visibility more than 10.
We should be able to do this on VFR because of the 23,000 view.
25,000 overcast. Temperature 20. Dew point -4.
Yeah, we have a good spread between the temperatures.
Arriving runways
and we have
right.
India. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start our taxi since we've loaded up the plane. I've done my run up. We're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and start our taxi to runway 20 left. And I'm going to cut over to Charlie, which is right here. I want to be careful I don't go too fast. And we'll announce as if we're on Unicom and sort of pretend that the airport is closed for the day. Unfortunately, there's no one on VATSIM. That's unfortunate. I really like doing these flights with VATSIM. It adds a dimension of realism. I really like the FSEconomy because it gets me flying into airports that I probably wouldn't fly into otherwise. Airports that I'm not totally familiar with, that I have to actually practice real flight planning. And that means I have to look up the charts, study the charts before I get there, and understand, basically what I'm doing before I ever get in the airplane. So in the real world, I would have called clearance. I would have asked for that route, and probably if I was going IFR, I'd do 5,000. We're going VFR, so I'm going to be doing 3,500 in this flight. And like I said, we'll use the GPS map there to sort of avoid the restricted airspace over the power plant. Okay, so let's see, make sure we're where we need to be. Yep, 20 left. Okay, so I'll type in. When you're on Unicom and VATSIM, you have to do everything by typing. I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody using Unicom. It's hard for me to tell out there. See if I can kind of see if I spot anyone this way, because it's hard for me to sort of look over there. I don't see anybody. Okay, so let's see. KSNA traffic. Let's say taking off. Runway 20 left, south departure. Okay. Okay, airspeed's alive, got good rollout, nice and smooth. And we'll turn 500 feet, we'll turn to our south. A little bit more on there, so we're gonna head straight to Balbo intercept. And we'll put this on GPS mode so we can track our way there. Really love these light textures at night. And our track should be about 150, so I'm going to set that in here so I know the direction. A little bit to the right of the needle, so we'll cut in just a little bit as we climb. Okay. Fuel pump off. I forgot to turn that on. Okay, and we're good. Okay. Adjust my trim a little bit so I can get good en route climb now. Just aim for about 500 feet per minute. You don't need to get up there very fast. A little more speed. Okay, we're going to hit the intercept real soon. We got about 45 seconds to go. And then we'll start leaning ourselves for climb appropriately. Start getting some performance out of the airplane. Since this is a paid flight, obviously the less money I spend on gas, the more money I make. So it makes it worthwhile for me to make sure that I lean out the plane. Alright, next track will be 1, 2, 3. Let's go 1, 2, 3. And we'll check the gyro once I'll use the ground track until I can confirm. Oh, you know what? I chose the wrong one. Yeah, I should be at 1, 2, 5. That was dumb of me. I should have changed it here. That's what I meant to do. Alright, I know I'm off. Okay, we'll check it in a minute. Once we're stable. Alright, getting up to 2500. I'm going to start to lean the mixture just slightly. When I do that, I'm going to look at my exhaust gas temperature here, watch it climb until it peaks. Once it peaks, I know I'm at maximum efficiency. Okay, we saw where it peaked right here. I'm going to set my needle there as a reminder. And now we're just going to try to set it to just under that. Okay, and continue to climb. Let's get back on our heading. Almost at altitude. When we get back up to altitude, when we get out to 3,500, we'll reassess our mixture and we'll maximize our temperature. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that map because that restricted airspace will show up, and since I'm trying to stay VFR in this flight, I'm just going to try to go around it. Now this here, if you're not familiar with the GPS, this is the track of the radial or the magenta line, and this is my actual track. So this helps me gauge, you know, I can sort of dial it in and sort of, you know, try to get right on it. Use this needle in GPS mode to sort of gauge how far off of the magenta line I am. Alright, we're getting up to altitude. I'm going to back off the power and for cruise, and I'm going to retrim the plane. So we're going to speed up a little bit here. I'm going to push the nose down to get that vertical speed indicator on 0, and then I'm going to let the plane speed up a little bit. You can see the airspeed indicators going up. I expect it to go maybe under 110. This plane, and then I'm going to proceed to trim. Okay, so I'm holding just a little bit of forward yoke to maintain that 0 VSI. So in order to trim the plane, I'm going to take the force off the yoke by putting in a little downward trim, and then I'm going to release the pressure to see what happens and hold it again at 0, and I'm going to do that in small amounts until I have backed off all the force from the yoke to keep it there. Okay, I'm still putting it a little forward, so I'm going to put a little more in. I can back off a little bit. And a little bit more. Okay, I'm just holding just a little bit now, so I'm going to put a little bit more in and back off. And now I'm pretty much dialed in. Now, while I did that, I lost a little bit of altitude. You can see I'm at maybe 50 feet shy, a little bit. I ended up with a very slow VSI, and when I get there, I'm just going to back off the power just slightly if I need to keep it there. So we'll see what it does. We'll see if it balances out, and I'll do the rest of the way with just a small power adjustment. See where it settles. I'm going to be patient with it. Small movements. And as you can see on the GPS now, that restricted airspace is starting to come up. And since I'm VFR, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm on Unicom basically. I am going to avoid it. And I'm just going to fly off the magenta line a little bit to the right. And it just goes a little bit off the coast there. I'll be able to track where I'm at just because visually I can see where the coastline is. And just pilot that through the use of pilotage. And let's see how that works. So I'm going to cut to about maybe 1.4 or 1.50. Just to, no, maybe 1.40 would be more appropriate. Very slow movement here because I don't want to lose any altitude. Okay, let's see if this works. Maybe a little bit more because I need to get to 1.40, maybe 1.45. I think 1.50 is a little much, but there we go. Now another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the frequency for Oceanside. And the Oceanside VOR is one of the first legs of doing an ILS. It's 115.3. So I'm going to dial that in. Whoops. It's hard to dial with these. Okay, so I'm just going to have that ready to go. Good on the altitude. Going Gonna make sure I don't lose my ground reference over there. And I'm looking off into space, so I'm going to be very careful. Not to hit that airspace. See how that magenta line just really skims through the restricted airspace there? That restricted airspace is the San Onofre nuclear power plant, by the way. So there's a good reason why it's a restricted airspace. And I don't want to fly over that anyway, right? BSI looks good. I'm a little bit high. I can adjust that just a little bit by bringing the power down maybe 50 to 100 RPM, and you'll see the VSI drop just a little bit. And then I'm on the right side of that trend, and when I get back to 3500, I'll just put the speed right back where I wanted it, and then I'll be able to live with that, right? Okay, so now I'm going to turn back to our track heading 124, or at least try to see if I can skim through that airspace, or not through it, but around it. A little more power drop while I do that. Now we're back where we should be with 3,500 feet. I'm going to put the power back to 2,500 RPM, and our VSI should stop. Maybe a little bit high. Let's drop it back again. Just little micro adjustments will keep me trimmed. I don't like using autopilot. I want to get really good at this because I just think that if you're going to go ahead and fly a simulator, particularly if you're flying general aviation aircraft, I think building the skill is, one of the main reasons why one would want to do flight simulator to begin with. So doing autopilot, and again, if I had done autopilot here, I would have blown through that restricted airspace anyway. So, you need to be able to fly the plane straight and level, and stay out of the airspace and avoid aircraft and all that kind of stuff without making your passengers sick. And remember, I've got 3 passengers in the plane ostensibly right now, and I want to give them a pleasant flight so that they'll come back. Our mixture looks really good right now at this altitude. We're just shy of peak still, so I don't need to readjust it. Looks good. We have a nice, calm, even flight. Let's hope the weather doesn't change on us. And if it does, I'm prepared with what to do. The good news of having this GPS is, I have my references, and I can fly straight and level, with the instruments and get to where I need to go. Right about now, I want to check into the ATIS for Palomar. Let's see, Palomar ATIS is 120.15, which I have dialed in here. I am going to go ahead and put that in, COM 2, and see what it says.
MC McClellan Palomar information Juliet. 100 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions indefinite view, 11,500 broken, temperature 15, dew point -5. Altimeter 3001. Arriving runway 24, departing runway 24. Advise on initial contact you have Juliet.
Okay, so we're going to use runway 24 based on that information. And it looks like we're going to have good enough weather to be able to do a visual approach. So I'm going to plan on doing this visually. Normally, I know this is a towered airport, so I would contact the tower. But since no one is on the frequency, I'll check one more time, see if anybody's on. Let's see. Nope, they're still not on. So So I'll use the Unicom, and I'll say, let's see, Palomar traffic, 714 Tango Whiskey, which is my favorite call sign. We're about, let's see, 11 miles north of Ocean for right traffic, runway, and I believe it was 24, right? Let's see. Yeah, 24. Let's see, 11. I should put nautical miles so people know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I've announced my intentions on the Unicom. And I did that on ATIS. Hold on, let me get back on. Let me try that again. Palomar. And now we're 10 miles north, I think. No, let's see. What are we? Yeah, about 11 miles north. No, we're 6 miles. 6 miles north. We'll be entering 45 downwind for right traffic, runway 24. There we go. Now start our tensions. We'll stay on this frequency. Okay. I'm going to drop a little bit. I'm not going to bother putting in an approach because we're going to do a visual and we're going to enter the traffic pattern. So all I really need is a direction to the airport, and from Oceanside I am already direct to the airport. And since I've done my research, I know that we're going to use runway 24. I know that that basically puts me on a 45, almost a 45 to the downwind. The elevation of the airport is about 3,000 feet. No, sorry, 300 feet. So, or 330 feet. Sorry. So I'm going to plan on a pattern altitude of 1,000 feet above that. We'll stick to around 1,400. So we'll be descending real soon, and we're almost past the airspace. So I'm going to, be ready to cut in and re-intercept my my radio. Okay, let's cut in just a little bit more. I'm going to skim that corner of the restricted airspace. Once I'm established on there, I am going to start my descent to 1500. Because it's not far from that Oceanside VOR. I might have to go back into my flight plan and activate the next leg. I'm not sure I'm going to be close enough to Oceanside for it to activate automatically. So I'm going to go in there. Let's pop that out. The next one. Menu, activate leg, enter, and now that one is activated. Let's get back to map, and now I have the right magenta line. Okay. So I'm going to intercept very soon. This heading should get me there. It's a good 30-degree radial intercept. And you can see the airport's beginning, I think that's the airport beginning to come into view on the GPS. Once let's see, we need to drop 2,000 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and start my descent, dropping the power down to 2,000 well, maybe we'll check on about 500 feet per minute. about 4 minutes out, 4.5 minutes out, so 500 feet per minute. I got 2,000, so it'll be about 4 minutes, maybe a little bit faster than that. I'm going to put in the mixture all the way now because we're descending out of cruise. Let's go back on the power a little bit. Alright. Alright, there come the light textures. Thank you very much. Wonder what happened there. Alright. Intercepting back on my magenta line. And the airport will be pretty much straight ahead, so I'm going to start looking for it. I think that's it, straight ahead. That's interesting what's happening to the light textures there. Got real dim all of a sudden. That's interesting. I wonder what happened. I'm going to preempt my call. I don't think anyone's here listening to me. Looks like I have about a 3-degree wind correction angle. Maybe. Or maybe my gyro is a little bit off. That squeaking is my SciTech yoke. It's one of the things I hate the most about the SciTech yoke. I wish it wouldn't do that. It gets into all of my videos, so I don't know, maybe there's a fix for that. Okay, yeah, that is certainly the airport in front of us. I can see the runway and the beacon for the tower. So I'm now entering their airspace, Class D. And we're almost at pattern altitude. I'll begin to back off the power and our descent. And let's start downwind. Turning downwind, runway 24 Palomar. Alright, let's stop our descent. Runway 24, so I'm going to head 06. And we'll check where we are. Beam the airport. There it is. Almost to beam the numbers. I'm going to put our first notch of flaps in. When you put your flaps in, it's going to balloon up like that. Begins to slow us down. We are past the numbers now. We're going to start our descent down to about 1,100. That's about 300 feet. And then we'll turn. By the time we get there, if we control our descent, we'll be ready to turn base. Guy's calling me from LA on Unicom. That's funny. Okay, turning base, runway 24 Palomar. Okay, let's get to base. So put our next notch of flaps in. Okay, once again ballooning up, put a little bit of power. And now we're looking for about 75 knots. And we want to go to about 800 on this leg. Turning into final. And there's the runway, so lose another 70. Okay, turning final. It's hard to type and do that at the same time. A little high. Looks like we're doing fine on the glide slope. Don't need another set of flaps. Doing good on the visual. There we go. Alright, let's bleed off the speed. Keep holding the nose up a little bit. That'll help us slow down a little bit. Alright. Here's our taxiway. Let's get off the runway and clean up. And it looks like we're at the FBO already, so I'm just going to taxi across. Let's put on the parking brake, get our flaps up, and let's shut her down. Shut her down. Avionics off. All this stuff off. And we're done. Now we got to report to FSEconomy that we've completed the flight. And it's registered we've finished. Said your flight is logged, results can be found, your aircraft is no longer rented. And if we want to continue, look at that. We still have 27 gallons on board. We plan to use 4 gallons, and that's pretty much exactly what we used. Let's go to the website and look at our log. And you can see we're done here. We made $24.63 from the bookage, and then the rental cost us $130, and we rented it for less than an hour, so $82.48 was the cost. We used 4 gallons, so that's $18. We had to pay the FBO, and we ended up with $2,102, which we banked. And now let's make sure we get all of that in the bank so we can collect interest on it. So that's cool. That's basically FSEconomy, and I really like it because I would probably have never made a flight from Orange County to Palomar like that. So it gives me a reason to go there, a reason to plan, getting out of my comfort element of the airports I know. And I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of FSEconomy, and I'll see you next time on Father Son Flight Sim. See you next time.